Oh, shoot, I'm recording. Let's go. Hey, take a moment, G. I'm not going to edit this. Let's come back. Welcome, my friend. And hey, take a moment, G, of Fiercely Fulfilled Feminine, along with the Prime Creator. We're co-creators in this. I'm just going to flow where I help twin flames to heal sexual trauma, reclaim their power, and experience true fulfillment through what I call the Sacred Sexuality Reclamation Method, broadcasting from Honolulu, Hawaii today, where I'm doing some planetary grid work, also being activated. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the anatomy of addiction in twin flames, from shame to self-acceptance. And I'm going to dive right in, talk about sex addiction, porn addiction, love addiction. Let's go deeper than the drug addiction, alcohol addiction, shopping addiction, whatever it might be. It's all connected. Addiction to struggle, addiction to the matrix and false illusions. It's all connected. I know that was a lot right out the gate. And yet, I feel so strongly guided to share this today. So I'm going to share first of all, essentially how addiction functions, why it comes about. It's all good to go. All right. It's all part of the path. So if you've been addicted or still addicted, please honor yourself. Do not shame yourself, because you're here, then you're ready to grow. You're ready to evolve. You're ready to get to the root of whatever has caused whatever addiction it is that you may have right now. And I am going to share my own story of addiction. And I haven't had, in other words, mine's been more of a love addiction. And then I'm also going to share something that I'm pretty vulnerable about, where I actually crossed a boundary at one point. Um, and it was part of the echo of my trauma. And I've had a lot of shame around it. And I think there's really no way for me to get in touch with this 14-year-old right now boy, who's now obviously a lot older than that. He's just a few years younger than me. Yet just by being here and sharing it here, I think that will help me to let go I'm feeling it in my abdomen right now, as far as a secret that I've held on to for a really, really long time. And there may be an instance in your life where you felt like you may have crossed a boundary, and maybe not in the way that others have crossed your boundaries, at least sexually or whatnot. And that may be part of your healing. So I'm going to share that today. And I continue to be increasingly more vulnerable. Yet I think by me being vulnerable, it allows others to be vulnerable. I am feeling a little bit of anxiety around this. That will be good to go. I am going to make reference to Maat, who is the ancient Egyptian goddess of particularly cosmic order, justice, and truth, and how that connects to twin flames. So before I continue, and of course, excuse me, and then of course, I'm going to wrap that up as to how you can begin to further heal any potential addictions that you may or may not have, but more so shame around it, and just help you get to the deeper roots of healing your inner masculine first, then allowing your softer divine feminine to come in, and then of course eventually the dark feminine energy. And then I'm going to share with you what I've been divinely guided to offer at a very reasonable, comfortable entry level price investment point for love exchange for you, to help you to continue to move forward and evolve on your path, whether you are yet fully committed or recommitted to your own personal twin flame journey, whether you're on a twin flame ascension path or not. This could be supremely beneficial for you, because I'm going to delve into patriarchy and the individual and collective father and mother wounds. Okay, so let's get right to it. Let's get right to it. The anatomy of addiction. Okay, so first of all, addiction is essentially the avoidance, the distraction from the pain of trauma and the emotions connected to an event which was never fully processed, so that it became trauma. Because when something happens, for example, sexual violation, sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape, or any kind of abuse, and physical abuse, neglect, abandonment, rejection, okay, being shamed by the church, all of it, okay, is something that creates pain in the body, hurt, confusion, a sense of betrayal. Like, what is this? Why is this happening? Boundaries have been crossed. I've been violated, and then I've been told, I've been silenced. I've been threatened. Okay. And I'm saying this, when I say this, this is potentially you as well if you're here. So I'm speaking that for you as potentially something that you have experienced. So what happens is when that event or series of events are not processed, the nervous system becomes unstable. What happens over time is that there is an increase in cortisol, the adrenals enter fatigue, and this chronic stress as your nervous system shuts down different parts of itself so that it can survive. It goes into survival mode, and it will actually trap certain painful emotions that you're not ready to feel so that the body can survive. And yet what this does is increase level of anxiety, distractibility. It puts you into a state of chronic stress where you may be like perseverating over the past and the trauma in a painful way, in a fearful way. And it keeps you in a state where you're probably needlessly worrying about the future because you're in this pattern of looping connected to trauma. And unfortunately, what can happen is especially if you have experienced sexual trauma at a young age, is that you will re-experience sexual trauma in a number of different ways by different men or women, however it shows up in your experience. And it's all connected to the patriarchal system. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, whatever gender you are, you have potentially, I don't want to say victim because none of us are really victims, although that is part of the path to feel victimized of the patriarchal system that has been put in place. So, and I'll delve more deeply into that when I offer the master course around that. So what essentially happens is with this anxiety, what the anxiety is about you, not necessarily on a conscious level, suppressing those trapped emotions because it's just too painful. So essentially, usually the bottom emotion is going to be deep pain, grief, and hurt. And then above that is typically, I would say, depression, which is connected to those. Depression, think about depress. And then above that is anger, is absolute anger at what just felt wrong, morally unjust. Okay, boundaries were crossed, like I said, aggression, violation, being silenced and threatened, anger. And then above that is the anxiety. So the anxiety is the symptom of trying to keep that all down because potentially you've been taught, oh my goodness, I can't express this anger right now because I don't know if I can control myself, or what are others going to think if I express this anger? Like I could harm somebody. That's how intense the anger is. So there is some kind of message that says either it's not safe to express that, it's not acceptable, or that you might lose control. And then, of course, beneath that is the vulnerability around expressing that deep pain and that deep hurt, especially if it is years after the initial origin of that initial trauma. So either emotions weren't encouraged to be expressed. I know in my family, we were not encouraged to express our emotions. It was easier for me to just tantrum, and that's how I got it out for myself. I was tantruming well into as a teenager. And it was embarrassing at the time because people were like, what's wrong with her? She's crazy. Like I would pick fights with neighborhood boys. I would just go off screaming and yelling up the street like, who? And then I'd be sweet as pie the next moment. Okay, that's trauma. Okay, that's a symptom of trauma. So, or it could be if you're in a household, especially like the men are like, oh no, we don't express the emotion, especially if you're from a Latin culture or Caribbean culture, or where just, men were macho, even in US culture or European culture, and most cultures around the world, actually, men are taught that it is a weakness to express emotion, to express pain. So instead, men hold on to it, and women, and you keep it inside, and that is very, very unhealthy. And that can result in mental illness challenges, and physical challenges, and disease, and depression, and even homicidal and suicidal ideation. So that's where the addiction comes in. The addiction is an attempt to deal with the anxiety. It's about distraction. It's about where do I put my focus, because if you stop to breathe and be still long enough, that pain and that discomfort is going to come to the surface. So addiction is about a lot trying to feel good while still keeping those emotions deep down. So perhaps, like, I know what this was for me, and a lot of those who have experienced sexual trauma in particular, I'm going to tell you right now, promiscuity, seeking others out for love, like where you associate sex with connection, with love, even whether you're in a relationship or not. So the one night stands, the feel like you need to have sex, or you need to swipe and be on Tinder or whatever else, or you need to watch porn, whatever, is all stems from trying to keep those emotions down and yet still feel good. Because sex, let's face it, let's look at sex in particular, this just feels good. Okay, it feels good in the body. It's very pleasurable, as it's meant to be, and there's a spike in dopamine. Same thing if you're a shopaholic, if you're a love addict like I was, a recovering love addict, is I would just, to me, in relationship, if I were having sex with somebody who I thought was in love with me and I was in love with them, to me, that was, oh, okay. That was my addiction, because I was very clingy. I was very clingy, and all that goes with the love addiction. Okay, I'm not going to go into depth as to how that unfolds, but it's very common, especially if you're divine feminine on this twin flame ascension path, that you have experienced love addiction. That's where the trauma bonding comes in. Okay, because ultimately you are objectifying your partner, and ultimately your partner has objectified you. Okay, they're looking at, okay, oh, let me just feel this feel good hormones connected to this person. And eventually you're like, okay, this is just another dopamine hit. This is not going to last. It's not sustainable. At least the type of connection and relationship that you could truly have and the truest intimacy is not sustainable. Okay, so addiction, sex, let's just call it for what it is: sex addiction, porn addiction, love addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, shopping addiction, sugar addiction, struggle addiction, addiction to the false 3D matrix. Everybody who has been traumatized with unhealed trauma still has experienced a certain level of addiction. Maybe it's to weed. And I honor the value of weed. The question is it addictive? Same thing with ayahuasca. I've known people who go back and do ayahuasca 3 times a year, just keep doing it. That in and of itself can be an addiction. So it's mindful of how you use what's out there, even if it's naturally supportive of your ability to ascend, can become addictive and can actually at some point stunt your growth if you do not move beyond that. What I have found, especially within the twin flame community, is a high statistical incidence of sexual trauma by both counterparts. I've also have realized there's a high incidence of sex addiction, porn addiction, love addiction in particular. And that leads to trauma bonding. The beauty is that twin flames meeting is finally an opportunity to heal that trauma bond and to heal whatever addictions have been showing up in your life. Okay. So when we think of Maat, Maat is the ancient Egyptian goddess of cosmic order, truth, justice. She's here to come in with the divine counterpart known as Isfet, Asfet, who's the absolute opposite of order, complete chaos. And yet the transformation brings them together into unity consciousness and divine embodiment together of divine justice and divine truth and cosmic order. So it's a beautiful opportunity, especially for twin flames on this ascension path, to be able to heal your inner masculine, to be able to heal your inner feminine. You see, you've got to heal the inner masculine first, because the inner masculine is what allows you to feel safe. The inner masculine is what's there to protect, provide support, and what allows that divine feminine to come in to soften, to be able to connect with oneself and all of life in a more divine way. And you will start to see, when that healing happens, you will see that the addictions fall away. You will step into a deeper, more unconditional love for yourself and others, deeper compassion. You will soften in every way, and you will be able to receive more. You will feel more comfortable, confident in your body and in your life and moving forward. And you will be able to cultivate what I call healthy pleasure. Okay. Now, I'm going to be a little bit real here, because I said I would share some of how it's shown up in my life. And the reason I'm sharing is because I want to help you as well to let go of, transmute any potential shame that has shown up on your journey. Now, I was promiscuous at one point, and yet there was a certain level of control because of the way that I was brought up in a very strictly Catholic family. I'm 61, so the internet did not even exist. And yet I'm going to let you know that I was fixated on sex. And at that time, Playboy and Playgirl magazines were the thing. I had a male friend at one point whose parents looked at these magazines, and I would love going over to his house and looking at these magazines. Like, it just turned me on. So I think that I probably would have developed a porn addiction, to be honest, if I were born 20 years later, and potentially even a sex addiction. So I'm just being real to real with that. I know that at 10 years old, even, I was exposing myself with boys. We would go in the woods and we would take our clothes off. I remember at one time we went on a field trip in 10th grade, and we went to somebody's pool, and there was a very small group of us who were under the water and were exposing ourselves to each other. And then the teacher pulled us out at one point and was talking to us at the side of the pool. And I remember the shame and the embarrassment, because everybody knew what was going on, including the parents who were chaperones. And they knew what we were doing. They knew what was going on, and they spoke to us, but it didn't go any further than that. Like, honestly, if we're exposing each other in that way, you might want to have a conversation with the parent. And I don't know if that happened, but I can remember the shame that I felt and the embarrassment. And yet it was just me not recognizing at the time, having been sexualized at an age at which I was not developmentally ready to understand the power of sexual energy. So that is one example of how it had been expressed with me. There are other ways that it just kept showing up. I was very forward with other boys. And I think I freaked out a few boys at how forward I was at a very young age. And then, of course, because of my strict religious upbringing, I felt like I can't have sex. No, I can't have sex. If I get pregnant, oh my goodness, no. As long as I don't have sex, I'm good. So I would do everything but, like, have penetration. So I felt like, okay, I'm legit as far as the church goes. And yet I was very promiscuous, and in college especially, I drank heavily. Once I was out of the influence of being in the home with my parents, I rebelled, and I was very promiscuous. And I think I pretty much had a reputation as being very promiscuous, being a tease. I drank heavily. I often blacked out on the street. I would go and watch strippers with my friends. So yeah, I put myself in some compromising positions where I was almost raped, and thankfully I had roommates who would protect me. And that was a further embarrassment because here's this like promiscuous roommate. Everyone that seemed like they were like these sweet little, and here I was like bringing home strangers and guys and putting myself in compromising positions. So yeah. This is the toughest one for me though. You know about the Uber drive. If you don't know about that one, not sharing that one right now, but yeah. Um, if you've offered up sexual favors when you didn't want, that's part of the trauma. And yeah. So there's something that I really want to share today that is a little difficult for me, but I think it's part of my healing. And it's been coming up for me, and I've kept it deeply, deeply buried. And um, okay, I'm just going to share. So I worked, throughout college, I worked at a residential camp for children with special needs. And these were children anywhere from the ages of 5 up until 19, honestly. And I was a counselor. I also worked a variety of different roles at this residential camp. And there were times when I would be on duties in different dorms, so to speak. They call these cabins dorms. And I worked in a female dormitory. And yet sometimes I would be on duty in dorms that had boys and teenage boys because they just needed coverage. And this one evening where I'm just sitting there and we didn't have phones at that time, and I'm just bored, and I might have been reading or writing. I don't know what I was doing. And there was this 14-year-old boy in the top bunk, very physically attractive boy. I may have been 18 at the time. And I remember I kissed him on the cheek. I wanted to kiss him on the cheek. I said, he's asleep. He was deaf, stone deaf. And I kissed him on the cheek. He woke up with such a start. He was afraid. He was scared. Like, what just happened? Remember, he's deaf. All of a sudden, somebody's coming in real close and physically touching him in a way that crossed a boundary. And it's the only time that I crossed a boundary in that way. And I remember, like, oh my goodness, he's a minor. He's deaf. He's special needs. I was only thinking about myself. I did not have enough self-control to think about how that might affect him. And I think I need to heal that right now. So part of that is just sharing this publicly and letting go of that shame. And I remember right away when I went, uh, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I felt so much pain and so much regret and so much shame in the moment. Like I had taken advantage, and it wasn't my intention. It wasn't like it was premeditated or calculated. It was just a lack of self-control, and it was my own trauma. So I share that because if there's any point in uh, on your journey where you feel like you may have crossed a boundary, is first of all, do what you can to let that shame go. Know that it's more common than you believe and than you think, and that it's your trauma, and that healing that trauma is going to help you to continue to evolve and to help others to do the same. So it's really easy to become the victim, to say, this happened to me, someone violated me, someone crossed boundaries. You don't need to forgive anybody, by the way. You don't need to forgive anybody because Forgiveness means it's a right or wrong. We so contracted to play these roles. It's more about acceptance. So that's why I mention from shame to acceptance. So just accept what's happened, accept where you are, accept, how it's unfolded for you. And that's what's going to allow you to move on and to evolve. So that's what it was for me. That's what I'm healing right now. We're always healing. We're always transforming, transfiguring, evolving, and elevating. And just having humility and grace around that is very powerful. So I'm a coach. I coach others. I've healed a great amount of my own trauma. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in online programs, courses, retreats, reading books, and just really taking this information in and connecting with the divine and receiving these divine insights and divine downloads so that I can then share this with others, like what's coming up right now in my own reality that I can share to support others. So, how do you heal that? You heal it by showing up with others who get where you are, who get where you've been, who've had to heal their own shame, who are there not to judge you, who are there to show up with compassion, to hold sacred space, to honor and love you unconditionally where you are on your path, to truly understand that it's not about right or wrong. It's not about, geez, what did you do? It's not about your behaviors. It's about what happened to you. What happened to you? And how can I support you? You see, being witnessed, being heard, being validated is a powerful aspect of the healing journey and your own empowerment. Now, see, I have a couple of people in my field right now in my inbox who are dealing with porn addiction. And they seem to feel safe with me, as I believe they should, as far as sharing how that has shown up for them. And I've had others on this path as well who have openly shared how challenging it's been for them, those with sex addiction in particular, porn addiction. Because on some level, these masculines, these men, these women know that I am not going to judge them. And there's power in that. There's healing in that. And when you can show up and experience that kind of vulnerability, guess what? It prepares you to do that with others and eventually with your divine counterpart. It's sacred preparation. Because guess what? Whether you see that or not, it truly is all connected. The sexual trauma, the Kundalini energy, the twin flame journey, the inner masculine, the inner feminine, duality, unity, all of it is connected. And you will realize that more and more as you continue. You see, I am committed to the union timeline. I am committed to helping others heal their individual wounds and the collective wounds, where personal joy meets planetary service. So I have been divinely guided to offer two very powerful mini master courses, 2-hour online courses. The first has to deal with healing the inner masculine, reconciling the father wound, dealing with moving beyond patriarchy. That is happening on Saturday, January 31st, 2:33 p.m. Eastern Time. And then I'm following that up. I don't have a set date and time yet, with something to help to deal with the individual and collective mother wound. So we're dealing with inner masculine, inner feminine. Inner masculine has to come first, like I already mentioned, to hold that protective space. And then we harmonize those. And I'm being guided to offer it also as a bundle with a 50% discount for that second online mini master course. obviously with some time in between to integrate. Now, if you are currently a one-on-one coaching client, or if you sign up, I'm signing up. I have space for 4 more in my life for 4 more one-on-one coaching clients. You automatically get those master courses as part of being one of my coaching clients. Okay. So I'm offering this because it's a need. I'm being shown by who's showing up that there is a need for this. And it's also a comfortable investment point for some of you to at least be in the resonance of what I can do to help you to co-create as a facilitator your next level of growth and evolution and transformation. So I don't quite have those put together yet, but as soon as I do, I'm going to drop those links in the description. I will add those links in the description. Keep watching the videos if you want to make sure that you have that. Honestly, if you want to make sure that you get in on this, is be on the look. Use my link tree, because those will end up on my link tree. Keep watching these videos because it'll show up as links within the description. Even better, get on my mailing list. Book a free quantum strategy call. Receive a free informational training video once you book that call, and that'll ensure that you will definitely get the information that you need. It'll also keep you within the resonance of my field, so you don't miss out on anything. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share. I've shared something extremely vulnerable with you today. And so if you are struggling with addiction, if you are struggling with your ability to commit to the twin flame journey, if you are struggling with anger, with deep sadness and grief, and you would like support within the resonance of my energy, if it aligns, then let's do this. This is 2026. We've got the Fire Horse coming online officially February 17th of this year. Rapid moving energy. This is the time to plant the seeds. This is the time to make decisions that support your growth. This is the time to invest in you because you deserve it and you're worthy of it. There's always a way. I love you so much. I love you so, so much. We got this as a collective. You got this as an individual, aligned with the divine. Much peace and love. Thank you again.